All right, I think we know what we're doing. We'll go into our joint workshop session. We'll call it to order for Capital Improvements Program Committee. And you guys take it away.
Mayor and Council, I'd like to thank the committee members that are sitting behind us that were able to be present today, and Ms. Person for her service on the CIP committee. I kind of changed it up a little bit on them this year and introduced some new forms. I know that the complete CIP packet didn't make it into the packet online, but you did receive your copy today. For some reason, when you were scanning it, it skipped a few pages. So you should have received this lovely big packet via email today, and it may be on the dais in front of you. So what I've requested from each of the departments this year that might be a little bit new to what we've seen before are these justification sheets. So you can see what the item is that's being asked for, the name of the project, where the asset will be housed, in which fiscal year it is planned to be requested to occur, which fund it comes out of, the project description, and the justification for the project. So through the course of several meetings, the CIP committee met with electric, water, wastewater, streets, a lot of police, fire, the general fund folks, parks, and we completed this full 5-year CIP packet. What I then asked the committee to do was prioritize each of the items they received as for this next fiscal year's requests, and prioritize that in order from most important to least important. And I asked them to do that within each fund. And the reason being is while you may have a parks project that ranks highly, you might also have a fire project that ranks highly, but both of those projects are being paid for out of the general fund. So all of the general fund requests are ranked against each other from 1 to 19. And then each of the golf course fund requests, electric fund requests, and water wastewater fund requests. There is one request for aviation that didn't make it on here, but it's the only one. So that will be included in the final report. Committee, did you have any comments for council? Or is there any questions from council?
I appreciate the council funding the wayfinding signs. They look really nice. Appreciate the funding.
Council, I think that the committee did a great job here and was willing to work with to get some sense of what is being requested from each department. And I believe that what we see in front of you are reasonable requests from departments. Nothing's high in the sky, and there's nothing that is something not directly related to the work. I think we had quite a few requests and quite a few items, so you'll want to take some time to look at it.
I already looked over it, so I don't have any questions. Thank you very much. We're as far as getting some more ball fields, softball fields on 580 West, is there any discussion about that? And the only reason I say that is I go by these ball fields, got a little freak, 6 years old grandson. Man, that's just a huge draw from the Lampasas. And just, kind of wondering if that's something that's even on the radar list.
So there was discussion about refurbishing some of the existing fields and the tennis courts.
Okay.
We haven't discussed the addition of any new fields out at 580 at this time, although that will be needs to be a priority project in the future, especially if Lampasas is looking to host those regional and statewide Little League tournaments. Because 2 ball fields out there doesn't quite draw those tournaments the way that additional ball fields will.
There is an item for an update on the Parks Master Plan in this, and that certainly would address the number of ball fields we have and where we might need more and how they might be used. So I think that Parks Master Plan is a first step
one-stop testing. I'll order the workshop session, discussion regarding plans to onboard Depot LLC cross connection backflow management.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. How you doing?
Good.
Want to talk about the Depot, which is Depot LLC, also referred to as EnviroTrax. They are a backflow cross connection management system. A lot of larger cities use them. Fort Worth uses them. Corpus Christi, Georgetown, Liberty Hill, Utah, several places. So they actually maintain a data system where a backflow device tester will go out, test the device, RPZs, high health hazard backflow devices that are required to be tested by TCEQ annually. So they'll go out, a tester will submit their test form into the Depot site, so they manage all the data for us for free. They also verify that the backflow device tester is licensed, has a backflow preventer tester, and make sure all of their test equipment is calibrated and up to date. On top of that, they also allow cities to upload all of their customer service inspection reports. Those are supposed to be done at final inspection of new builds and before water surface is granted. So kind of what we've done in plumbing inspection, but CSI inspection report is required. That's just to verify internal plumbing to make sure there's no cross connections or potential hazards from the building or residence. So the good thing about Depot, there is zero cost to the city. And the way that Depot collects their funds is when a backflow device tester goes out and does the annual test. Depot, once they upload that, Depot charges that backflow device tester $11.50. So it is very good. As far as when TCQ inspections come in, they come in and do an inspection on site. Click on the Depot system. It shows you all of your inventory, shows you everything that's in compliance, everything that's not in compliance. And so, like I said, with the ability to do that for no cost to the city, it is a win-win.
What does Depot stand for? Is
Just,
that an acronym or?
yeah, I'm not. Depot LLC is the name of the company, and then they added EnviroTrax later down the road once they took over Fats, Oil, and Greases program. So they do several process management things that are available to cities at no cost. And that's one thing I'd like to look at in the future. Also, be the Fats, Oil, and Greases program for tracking that.
And they go to every residential and
This will be mostly for high health hazard devices, restaurants, mostly commercial people. So if we had a resident that had a on-site sewage facility at their house, that would require an RPZ, which is a testable device. So basically, let's say you go into a local restaurant, they're probably going to have several devices, soda machines, ice machines, different types of things to protect backflow into the public water system. So the good thing about that I've noticed with using this company a couple of other times is that your inventory that you have as far as testable devices actually increases. When the device testers go out, they actually find other devices that we may not know are present or found on initial inspection.
so they charge that $11.95 or whatever. Is it per business or
Per device, it's
per?
tested.
Okay.
Yes.
John, is the, primarily this is commercial, you said?
Yeah, anything that's considered a high health risk as far as DCQ's charges.
TCEQ is who is tying this together,
Yeah,
they're
correct.
identifying it.
Yeah, like I said earlier, all of these devices are required to be tested annually per DCQ.
So the Depot is actually providing the software program, basically?
Yeah, and the good thing, and I've talked with IT briefly, that is actually our data, right? So They have their system that it goes into, but they was going to add into the service agreement that they do a download to a file that IT sets up or a location, so they can do a monthly dump into our system. So we have that in case something ever happened, separation or whatever. We know we have a backup for our documentation.
Do we have that kind of programming now?
Not for a system like that I'm aware of.
So most of our documentation is paper files.
A lot of it is, we have work order system, and code and things like that. But as far as any type of management system of this nature, I know, Permitted uses, MyGov, yeah. So that'd be the closest thing I can think of.
Okay, thank you.
It's basically a cloud software where the data is being stored in the cloud, and then we would just be asking to retain a backup of that data on a file share on one of our file servers, just so that we retain that data. And that's not uncommon to ask for or to ask for in a contract, whenever you have your data stored in the cloud.
It sounds like there'd be a lot of analysis available to the city with this kind of system.
Thank you, Mike.
Is there any other, obviously there's other communities doing this, is there any other close around this? That's using it?
Like I said, Georgetown uses them, Liberty Hill uses them, Kyle, Utah, Fort Worth, and Corpus Christi are just something I remember off the top of my head. And there are other companies, but this is a Texas-based company, and the gentleman that runs from previous cities, and very, very knowledgeable and a great resource for providing information that comes to state rules and regulations for that. So they also provide their knowledge as a
It's
resource.
just hard for me to figure out how they can do it for $11.50.
Well, like I said, Georgetown, just for instance, several thousand devices. Fort Worth, probably much larger. So,
Are we talking thousands here in Lampasas?
excuse me.
Are we talking thousands when we're in Lampasas?
I am still currently trying to get an accurate number. From what I've seen so far, probably in the hundreds. And as I stated earlier, as device testers go out to locations, they will identify, so that will be a benefit to us through TCQ documentation and ensuring we're doing what we're supposed to do on our. Yeah. All right, thank y'all.
Thank you. All right, number 3, discussion presentation from Christmas on the Creek, Vision Lampasas.
Mayor and council, I know we're not quite into our budget workshops yet, those will start in a couple of weeks, but we did have quite a few requests from community organizations for funding, so we've gone ahead and we've split those into 2 groups. And so the first folks that will be here talking about their request is Christmas on the Creek.
Thank you very much for having us, and you've already probably gotten our first little information packet, one sheet, and I have a little more to tell you about what it is that we do. Christmas on the Creek is a city event. It started at least 10 years ago, and at the time there was money funded and raised from several different organizations as well as Lampasas itself. And I think it was in the hundreds of thousands, maybe like 110,000. I don't have the correct money exactly on that. But over the years, Christmas on the Creek pretty much has floated its own boat. And so several years ago, we needed some help when it came to the council. And they began to pay $30,000 a year for the installation of the lights. It hasn't gone up in many years, but this past year, in 2024, it went up $10,000. So that is not an amount that Christmas on the Creek can fund. Our idea is that because it is a city event and the additional money is to pay for labor, so it's not anything that we can do anything do anything about. So currently, the city is paying the $30,000, and we're asking for an additional $10,000 to be paid by the city to take care of the installation of the Christmas on the Creek lights. And so we have some lights, pictures of lights that are being flashed at it, and I also have one for your packet. So you can kind of see, I'll kind of show one of them. But this just gives you an idea of what it means when you visually get to see it. It's spectacular. So, we've been told by several different people that the next year or so, if we're going to be able to do all of the lights that have once been in the park, and we're having to change lines and bulbs. 2 years in a row, we had quite a bit of mischief going on in the park, and they were snipping lines and things like that, and so it was more expensive. So we believe that we've kind of gotten that, kind of over that, but many of the lights are out of date, and so they're not able to put all the strings of lights in because the bulbs won't fit in the electrical lines that we have. So that's another reason why it's expensive. We've been told it could be as much as $10,000 a year to get the lights back, to completely cover the creek. It's very expensive. The lights are very expensive. But we do have a great little business, Derek Smith's business, and he actually this past year was able to donate money for lights, and he himself then did labor to help the crews, connect them, tell the crews that were doing it what lights need to be where. So it's kind of like a consultant. They gave a $5,000 donation toward that, and I think he'd like to do it again next year, I guess, if he has a good business year this year. So we're pretty excited about that. Vision Lampasas is kind of the mother of Christmas on the Creek. We have several different events, and Christmas on the Creek is just one of our events. And this year, we have voted to donate $3,000 towards other things that need to be done in the creek. Just for a show of hands, how many of you have ever been to the Christmas on the Creek event? Well, good. We're happy that you've done that. But you probably know that it's beautiful. It's beautiful at night. It has wonderful kinds of activities during the day, as far as for kids to play on. And it's a really safe place for us to be. So you would be interested to know how many community partners that we have that take advantage of being that one night event. But it doesn't just happen one night. We start in November, but usually during Thanksgiving, and they start putting up all the lights. And it goes until the second week in January. So we have 6 weeks of daytime events that are open to everyone, and the lights, of course. But we have a lot of partners that take advantage of that one night that we have kind of an event. It used to be that we used to call it, we're going to flip on the lights. But the lights start really in November, but we have a lot of people that come out. So I thought I'd just read to you. I'm going to read all of them, but I'll be quick. The Girl Scouts, the Boy Scouts, County Clerk, Junior Pioneers, High School Cheerleaders, Wings of Eagles, LAFTA, Vision, Citizens Police Academy, Parks Department, First State Bank, Sleigh Helpers, Young Life, the Chamber of Commerce. And all of these are nonprofits, some of them are businesses, but what we allow them, the nonprofits, if they want to charge a very small amount for a hot dog or a drink or a bag of popcorn, we think that it's important enough for them to be able to make a little bit for their own projects. So we do let them do that. A few of the other local businesses are John and Susan John and Susan Hines, and there's numerous other small little businesses that will donate things along the way. Sometimes we'll get water, sometimes we'll get bags for popcorn, small things like that. So you see, it's really a big deal. There's a lot of community partners, and they're all willing to do it. They come out and decorate that day, and it's really great for Christmas on the Creek. You might ask, what's the value of it to the community? You know, we like it, but do we put on something that almost everybody can participate? Well, we do. It reaches all ages. It's free. It's a drive-through, so people that couldn't walk it can certainly drive through and see the lights. It's open 24 hours a day for 6 weeks. It's also walkable and wheelchair accessible. It's alcohol-free. It is self-guided. You don't need anybody to tell you where to go. You can find your way. It provides a holiday atmosphere. It's a memory-making event. I've been down every year, even before I really got too involved in it, and I wouldn't miss a year of taking my own picture with my dog and my husband for our Christmas card. So there you go. If I participate, I bet you there's lots of other people that want to too. It's a family-generated activity with lots of photo opportunities. We also have 7 swans of swimming, which I bet you there's not very many parks that do that one. All people are welcome. And where in Texas can you play in snow a full 3 hours? There's nowhere. So we're lucky in that. So what is some other things that are true about this event is that Lampasas has recently been designated a gateway town, which brings more people. Restaurants, gas stations, and other businesses benefit with revenue boosts for 6 weeks, not just a single day. We are located near several cities, a perfect distance for an evening drive to see Christmas lights. This event builds community. You can participate in several activities or easily be a bystander. There's a place for everyone. Lampasas has a great appreciation for our beautiful town. It would be hard to imagine just how many people come to this event, witnessing with pride the dazzling lights and euphoric sense of wonder that only Christmas brings. Christmas on the Creek values the opportunity to share this season with all who gather here to be bedazzled. We have a small committee. There's only 8 of us, but I'd like to read the names because I'm not sure everybody knows, who's on the committee. We're pretty quiet about it. It's not a secret, but we're pretty quiet. Mark and May Sneed, Charlotte Bell, Cheryl Perry, Sonia Morris, David Love, Robin Gradell, Dorinda Barrett, myself, and a heavenly member, Catherine Metzger. We believe the city greatly benefits from this event, and we would appreciate consideration of the additional funds of $10,000. And I have another little thing. One of the events that we have that has a booth is Laughter does, and that gives kids an opportunity to write Santa Claus letters. So I thought it'd be fun for y'all to read a few of those. Leave one for Aaron. Okay. This one's for you. Kathy. Oops. I'm sorry, you're not gonna get it. And then this one just is some pictures, so it's kind of have a little memory program. If y'all have any questions, I'd be happy to answer anything.
I got a couple of questions for you. And by the way, my hat's off to you guys. I've been down there every year since you guys started that. It's a family tradition that we have, that we bring my wife. She always wants to go see it. And we do it several times during the Christmas season. We just don't do it
one time. Couple of things, I guess. Do you have any idea possibly about how many people that you might bring into town? Just kind of looking at it from a
You know,
economic.
standpoint. Well, one thing is we don't charge to get in.
Yep.
It's a free event. So that a lot of people probably come that wouldn't necessarily come if they had to pay. So, each year, I think we've seen more participation, but I think as each year, people know more about it, and they don't feel like they just have to go to the event because they can see the lights, and that's really what it's all about. So I don't really know. What would you guess?
I wish Diana Hodges was here.
She's back there.
Probably 500 people that night.
I would say in excess of 500 people. Year before last, I think that one of our members, Dorina Beard, is not able to come tonight. I think she said that she had a rough number of 1,000. Is that about right? She thought there was about 1,000 just in that one night.
And you know, kind of about how many participants overall?
Well, we have all those things that we listed, that I listed for you, and then there's helpers that go with that. So I was just thinking about that today. I bet you we have probably 50 or 60 community helpers, and that's probably not a great, I think we probably have more. Like Vision Lampasas, we have 12 members and husbands, so you add that to it. It takes a lot of effort to put the one night event up. But it is a city event. It's not just like our event. It really belongs to the city. And we now know that as people drive through, some people may not stop the first time, but if they're coming back, if they're going home through Lampasas, they'll drive around the park. We have talked to several of the officers that come, and kind of patrol the park, and they say there's cars. During the 6 weeks, there's cars in and out of that park in the daytime as well as the nighttime.
My granddaughter is 10 years old this year. She went to the first one with me as a baby. So Christmas on the Creek was real special for us. And last year, my son from Minnesota and his family came, and they were so impressed.
Yeah.
It was really nice.
I think it's an event that really, because it hits so many people's idea of Christmas. I don't guess we really talk much about what else happens in town, but Lampasas has a lot of things that happen at Christmas time. Vision does all the ornaments on all the windows. We have Carol of Lights, which is usually the weekend before Christmas on the Creek. We have a wonderful little parade last year that I think there were, Diana, help me, 40? There was 40 different people that came on the parade, some that we had never seen before. And so I think people I think they feel safe. I think that's real important. And I think that there's enough light down there that it makes them feel a little safer. And it's so beautifully done. I really have to take just 1 second and tell you how wonderful the Parks Department we have. Those men they have ownership of that entire event, even though it probably takes them maybe a month to put it together. And I will tell you, there's many of us that go down at different times and, just make sure they got in the right place. But they do, because they are they have a lot of ownership over the park. And when it gets vandalized or something, they feel badly about it. But, any other questions?
We got cameras down there this year for vandalism and that type of thing.
Oh, yes, you do.
So that's gonna help us, hopefully.
It did even last year. Last year, we actually helped pay for the cameras, because the year before is when we had such vandalism.
We actually helped pay for the cameras.
We helped pay for the cameras last year.
Okay.
Isn't that correct?
Or year before. Okay.
Yeah. So we always ask for little donation boxes and, things like that. And we'll get maybe $100 or $200. But one year we did something called Buy a Bulb, And we had little kids that were coming over putting 25 cents, 50 cents to help buy a bulb. That's wonderful. I mean, everybody feels like they're kind of part of it if they can do it.
What does it actually cost to put this on for the 6 weeks?
I couldn't tell you about the electric. I don't know.
I think-
Those are low, you know.
$30,000, that's just a small.
It is. It is. I would say on our part from vision, all of our vision workers come, and honestly, most of the nonprofits come in and out during that time, and there's lots of times that we pay for things out of our pocket. Just because we just love it, and it's important. We do have big expenses, and I didn't talk about this, but we call them characters. And the characters in the park are the things like, especially in the section with the kids, we have all the little buildings and the kids can go in and out the doorway. We have a barnyard, and I think this next year we're gonna have to put a height requirement on it, because we had a few adults try to get on these little barnyard animals, but it's usually for the smaller ones, and those are all hand painted. And this year, we have got to, we've done some resurrection on many of them, but we have to have some new ones. And so that's what we're going to be using some of Vision funds for. We have painters, willing and unwilling painters, but they're going to paint anyway, that helps with those. And the park people take very good care of all those characters. But we have a lot of, and many of those are not lit actually, so we have to have lighting around it. This year we'll be doing 3 or 4 boxes that they will put lights, like floodlights, into the area, so we'll have more lighting. So that's I'd love to be able to give you a number and an amount, but honestly, I don't know. I don't know how we would do it. We're doing something called a paint party, and we're going to be involved in the town. We had our first event at the last event this year, and we had about 35 maybe kids, all ages, 4 years old to 50, 60, 70. They wanted to be a part of helping us paint some of the ornaments that we have down there. So we're going to be doing that 4 times this year. We hope to do 30, not new pieces, but we're resurrecting some of the older pieces. So we do paint. That's usually very, very expensive because we're use paint to do them. I'd like to give you some idea about money. I'm afraid I'm off on that one. I don't know. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the 10,000 extra is just basically for the labor increase, right?
Yes.
It's not any extra license or anything like that.
No.
Just make sure.
Well, Vision is going to do the $3,000, and hopefully that'll go a good ways to help with lighting and things like that. And we do get occasionally, once every couple of years, we'll have some people that'll give us $1,000, and it's well used. We don't fundraise. We don't have the manpower to fundraise, but it started out with fundraising. And so we really, and then in each one of the organizations, they sometimes they'll come up with, I think one of the nonprofits maybe gave us like $1,650. Is that right, Diane? $1,650, I think. $1,650 last year. Oh gosh, that was a lot. That was a lot of money for us to be able to do that. Well, thank you very much. I hope you guys will
Appreciate all y'all
think
do.
seriously about supporting us. Appreciate it. Thank you.
And that'll bring us to the discussion and presentation of Cooper Springs Paving Park.
Mayor and Council, Neil Lavelle will be speaking to you in regards to Cooper Springs.
Thank y'all for letting me talk for just a minute. I'll try to keep this brief. I know you have a long night ahead of you. There should be a letter in your packet, and really the majority of the pertinent information about our proposal is in this letter, so I encourage you to read that. If you've not spent much time in the park, I also encourage you to go to our website online, and there's a lot of great information about the park there. So I recommend that. Just to kind of hit the high points, Cooper Spring Nature Park is a city park that gets a lot of use by our citizens and also by some travelers. And we on the board have traveled to many or most of the other nature parks in this part of Texas, and I can tell you we've got one of the very best. We really have a gem in that nature park. The park is owned by the city. Cooper Spring Nature Park Foundation is a not-for-profit corporation. The city allows Cooper Spring Nature Park Foundation to manage, plan, run, maintain, do all those things on the park under the city's approval. We have raised to date about, not counting any land contributions, about $400,000 that we've raised and spent on improvements on that park. We don't ask for any city staff to mow the park or clean the park. All that is done by our board and many volunteers. We've got groups of people in the community that, for example, said, my husband and I will take over this bed and we'll take care of this bed on an ongoing basis. Other people take over a picnic bench. We've got one couple that walks the creek after every rain, cleans up trash out of the creek. So we've got a lot of community volunteers that's doing all that. We think that the way the city could help us the best is by giving us some money each year. And our proposal is that the city give us a line item of up to $10,000 a year to spend in maintaining the park. If y'all do that, any proposal that we have for expenditure of that money would come before the Parks Board, the city manager, or the city council as is appropriate. And city procedures for putting out bids and any of that kind of stuff would be followed. It'd go, and any checks that the city would write would go to the contractors or whoever is providing that service. But it would really be helpful for us in planning if we had $10,000 a year from the city to go into the park, and we would continue to raise other money to do other things that we need to do. One thing we're doing right now is we're in the process of developing some informational signs that'll go into the beginning of the park that tell visitors kind of what they're seeing and what's here and why. I think that they're going to be great signs, and we're going to do that this year. So, that's not something I think we're looking at the $10,000 for. Questions?
How do you guys go about raising money?
Usually, a good bit of the money has been given by members of our board. Other times, we will go to an individual and say, we would like to do this. Would you be willing to contribute money for this? And those people have been very generous. We have not done fundraisers in the past. We're talking about maybe going a little bit more that route in the future and kind of working up some of that stuff. Particularly, we're talking about having a little more, a broader call for support for these signs that we're doing. The sign's going to be about $9,000 total for 5 signs.
Do you have an annual budget that you guys try to meet?
We really don't, because it's real project dependent. I mean, our labor is volunteered. We need, one thing that we needed was a storage building. We have all these volunteers that come out and work. Well, the foundation and the city owns equipment for them to use, lawnmowers, shovels, all that kind of stuff. And in the past, they've had to call Harold and get him, we built a storage building so these volunteers can go out there and access that, and access it, and some of our board members just contributed the money for that storage building. That's kind of how we typically work. So we don't typically have a budget. I think, what do we got right now in the bank? 13. We have about $13,000 in the Cooper Spring Nature Park bank account right now, and that's going to, part of that's going to pay for these signs.
And it's probably good just to educate the council on how this property came about. It was donated actually to the city and by Rex Johnson.
That's right. I'm going to have to read the letter. 2008, Rex and Linda Johnson donated 16 acres to the city for a nature park designated. 2012, Harold and Marilyn Clary donated 1.3 acres. The city of Lampasas contributed an additional 7 acres. 2014, the Cooper Spring Nature Park Foundation was formed. And then the Cooper Spring Nature Park Foundation has built the high fence around the property. We have so many deer in Lampasas that the deer were just eating everything there. And we could not have a nature park. We frequently get the question, why do you have a nature park and try to keep deer out? Well, if we want to have birds and butterflies and wildflowers, we've got to limit the number of deer. So the high fence was something we did. We built trails in the park where people can do. Many of those trails are handicap accessible. Some of them have got crushed gravel on them, and we just finished going back and putting new gravel on some of those trails and upgrading those and keeping them in shape. And then others of the trails are just mowed.
I've experienced the park several times with the family. We really enjoyed it. I got to be a part of the great deer herding process 2023. But yeah, I love the park and I love what y'all are doing. Is there any other plans for, other than shed and things like that, signs, is there any other improvements that y'all are?
Yes, we'd like to extend our trail system. There's been talk about using the old railroad trestle that goes through the park and putting an observation area or some type of facility up on that, maybe where people could go eat lunch and look out over the park. There's been talk about that.
So you're saying there'll be a restaurant up?
I didn't say that. There's also ongoing plantings of plants. We're continually planting native plants and we frequently get grants to pay for the seeds for that, and that work is done by our board members and volunteers. Controlling invasive non-native plants is an ongoing process. Johnson grass, of course, is a big problem that we fight, but also a lot of invasive brush. We've got to control that on a regular basis just to keep it from taking over the park.
Was the high fence donated? Was that?
Yes, the money for the high fence was donated.
So another project I think we should consider in the future is to make it more handicap accessible. And wheelchairs but even people with walkers that have a tough time.
And like I said, we've got a main trail in the middle, and a big part of that is handicap accessible. Is that whole thing handicap?
Yes, all the gravel trails have less than a 6% slope.
So all the gravel trails have less than a 6% slope. Some of the other mowed trails, we looked into trying to make them handicap accessible, and you'd have to move so much dirt, and it would make it so much more expensive if we didn't do that. We also don't yet have trails that cross the creek and cover the other side of the banks of the creeks. That's something we would like to do at some point, and that's going to involve deciding how to build something to cross the creek, whether it's stepping stones or a little bridge or something like that. All those are things that can be done in the future.
I also have been down there with family and friends. It's just a beautiful area. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And discussion and presentation from Lampasas Community Gardens.
Mayor and Council, Janet Crozier is here to speak on behalf of Community Gardens.
Can we put up the 3-minute sign?
Not fair.
I will let you go as long as you want to go.
It won't be long. Guarantee it.
Davis got me up to that tonight.
I know. He's a troublemaker. Anyway, thank you for allowing me to talk about my wish. We are now in our 5th year at the community gardens, and it's not. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Even I can hear me. We're in our 5th year at the community gardens. As some of you know, we started with nothing. I was guided to the volleyball court that had been set idle for 15 years. And I have to tell you, when I first saw it, because I looked around, and I was new to Lampasas, I looked around for a place that this community garden, which everybody said they wanted, could take place. Nothing seemed to take had the requirements that we needed. A fence, water supply, lighting, and security. And this was just exactly
what was needed. So we started transforming the area into a garden. And over the years, we started with square foot garden system, and it worked pretty well. It was a slow go. We had to get a lot of donations, a lot of grants to make this happen. And in the last 2 years, we've developed an ADA compliant area to accommodate those who can't bend over and get down to the garden level. The reason I'm here tonight is to ask for money to get a water collection system coming off of the pavilion. I've talked to a couple of engineers and those who do water collection, and they helped me put a proposal together to take 2 downspouts, which is about a quarter of the roof on the pavilion, and bring it into trench the area about 3 feet deep, and bring in water to us. We have a 5,000 gallon water tank that we're trying to fill. We've used our sheds, but they are inadequate for the water that we need. And the water on the pavilion just goes to waste, and we're asking for money. And I've got 3 quotes on that to provide us with the ability to fill that water tank, and for our gardeners to be able to use that. We do have city water, but in the hopes of conservation that we are really involved with, we believe that the green water is so much more, it's so much more good for our plantings. You can just tell in a matter of days after rainfall versus when we're starting out with city water. It takes days and days for the plant to actually come up. So that's what I'm asking for.
So you already have the tank, is that right?
We have the tank. It's a 5,000 gallon tank.
So you're just wanting to put the pipe from the roof
Yes.
over into the tank?
Yes, and we have inside, we have the piping already there. The idea is to take 2 downspouts from the pavilion and trench it underground to us under the fence and fill up the tank.
Have you gotten quotes?
Yes.
Do you know how much that would be?
Yes, I have several quotes there.
That's in the packet.
Janet, I had a question on your quotes that you have here. The first one that comes to 5660, the second one comes to 2960, and the third one comes to 760. Are they connected? Any of these connected one to the other? With the 760
The
one?
700.
The idea is to bring in the water and fill up the tank. With the rains that we've been having lately, it's obvious that it would more than fill up that tank. So if the overflow, to deal with the overflow, there is a pipe that goes out from the back of the tank, and we're going to put a grate in there so that and more piping so that the excess goes into the creek, and that way we'll not have a backup. So the 2960 and the 760, they are to be combined? Yes, they're 2 different parts to the same outcome. Just curious, how do your people get the water out of the tank? There is a spigot And we're going to spread that out, and we're using soaker hoses right now that have been very valuable in going through the beds. We have just a few beds that we've been experimenting with soaker hoses, and they're able to water in a short time with the soaker hoses.
How many plots do you guys currently rent out?
We ran out 24 plots, and we haven't had that many gardeners to fulfill all of them, so we keep planting them, and the excess that we have are beyond what we own, what we're renting. We give to the senior center or the VFW so they can utilize the vegetation. I've been over at the senior center at least 3 times since last week with produce, and they're very grateful for it. We have 2 plots, and the plot in the back is dedicated to serving the public. And those who volunteer, they're able to get some of the vegetables too. We also have a small orchard in the back, and some of the other projects that we're going to look at getting LCRA grants for is shade cloth for the plots so that the summer heat will be abated a bit.
How many volunteers in your organization?
Well, supposedly all my gardeners are volunteers. Lately, I've been having very, very good luck with the juvenile probation kids that need service hours. And some of them have turned into real gardeners themselves. I've been teaching them how to do the square foot method, and we've been planting and learning about plants, and I'm very grateful for them. Unfortunately, some are through with their hours, and I'm now looking for some more juveniles with not terribly, not too bad kids, but they've been really helpful. I noticed you had an event the other day.
Yes.
Saturday we had an herbal event where we taught about herbs and their medicinal remedies, and also essential oils. And this is really how basically we make our money, is through we have classes almost every month. Once in a while we'll have a big fundraiser. Those aren't few between, because we have older people, and some, don't look at me like that.
They're a lot of work.
Anyway, we do the best we can, and we like to increase the education. Our aim is to teach people how to treat themselves to good food, nutritious food, and the exercise. From gardening and being out in the early morning sun is so beneficial. Anything else?
Yeah, I got 2 questions actually. How do people know about this? I've never really seen it advertised. I mean, I'm not
Do not do
seeking
Facebook.
it, but I'm not on Facebook.
I'm not on Facebook.
I'm on Facebook.
Follow,
It's all over
Passive
Facebook.
Community Gardens.
follow their
I'm in
page,
the
follow
wrong
their
spot.
chamber.
Yes.
And secondly, do y'all sell these at like the farmer's market? Can you say that?
We do not sell. We're a 501c3
Oh.
charitable organization, and we get donations. If we have anything going on, we ask for donations. We cannot require people to pay,
Gotcha.
but we just give them dirty looks.
Mayor and council, just so you guys know, I did meet with Ms. Crozier earlier this year and let her know that while this item is not specifically included in this year's budget, that we'll be keeping an eye on the parks budget as we approach the end of the fiscal year. So if we do have any remaining funds, it's a lower amount for a project, so if we have any remaining funds, there's a potential that the city could accomplish this in this fiscal year.
So this would be under the parks budget?
Correct.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Discussion regarding the outcome of the June 19, 2025 town hall regarding water quality. Mr. Stevens?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just wanted to give you all a brief update on the town hall that we hosted last Thursday. We had about 16 participants. It was a little smaller than we were shooting for, but overall it was productive. We had several topics. At the end of each topic, we did a little Q&A session. The intent was to keep it kind of small in a sense. We wanted people to be able to ask the questions, specific to Lampasas, specific to our water. And we were able to accomplish that. Throughout all of it, I was only asked one question that kind of stumped me. I've got a handout for y'all that came in last minute. It might be kind of small. The question didn't actually have anything to do with drinking water. However, it did have to do with wastewater, which is still water, so we'll take it. The question being capacity, and is there capacity for future use? And I realized during this that there were, I've given multiple answers out to the people. I haven't really been 100% consistent. So when you attempt to be consistent, we really wanted to review the data and look at wastewater. We brought in Jones Hero just to kind of review the data for us, and he stiffed up the chart, so you can thank him for it being small. That being said, as you can see in the blue, that is the municipal wastewater plant loading over the past 2 years. The line, the bold line in black stretching across the chart, that's what the plant was designed for. Anything above that, surprising that it's worked. We've been thankful in the past, the plant seems to be doing very well. When it gets above that threshold, that design criteria, that black line, if you will, no issues. If we were to add, say, 300 homes, that's what you see in yellow at the tip of each line, that's a prediction. That's where we would be in relation to the design criteria for the plant. In some cases it meets, in some cases it doesn't. This is where you get the conflicting answers. So it's hard to pinpoint a yes or no answer on future capacity when you're trying to hit a moving target. So that's where the inconsistencies lie. It's a yes and a no. Depends on the week, really. But ultimately that's the information I wanted to convey to you tonight. Other than this one question kind of stumped me. The town hall was a complete success. We had some great people come in, had some great questions answered, and we've got a lot of knowledgeable people out there in the system today using that water that actually understand a lot more than I thought they did. So the intent is to do this hopefully annually. Maybe we can grow it into something bigger. And even if I have to answer the same questions every year, it works for me as long as the knowledge is being passed around.
So what causes these levels? I mean, can you share with us why we're seeing a couple of, we got one in September here, and we got.
This is just influence loading conditions. So this is everything. This is residential customers, this is commercial customers, this is industrial customers. So when you see fluctuations, albeit not 100% normal to see fluctuations varying like this, that is what we deal with. So it's just varying influence conditions.
So the 1st of September last year, 24, and then it didn't spike again until just a few weeks ago.
These conditions reflect a 24-hour composite once per week sample. So once per week, we take a 24-hour composite sample to identify what the conditions would be for the entire week. So when you see spikes, that's an indication that on that specific day that the loading coming in the plant was that high. Some of these things, sometimes it's a slug, sometimes it's the condition of the day. You know, it can be hard to pinpoint exactly what causes them. But keep in mind that we are, and we have been working on solutions to fix some of our larger problems, which could be contributing to a lot of the inconsistencies.
Can you tell us kind of, because a lot of us don't understand the affluent VOD versus daily capacity. What is that affluent VOD? What does that actually mean?
Think about it this way: influence in. So when we say influent, we're talking about what's coming into the plant.
Okay.
So influent is just recognizing the stream coming in. BOD is the biochemical oxygen demand. Anything that's put down a drain has what we consider a BOD. It has an oxygen demand, if you will. Residential strength is typically used to be around 220 milligrams per liter. With the adoption of low flow fixtures, we find it's more about 350 milligrams per liter concentration coming in. You take those numbers and you can determine the loading of the plant coming into it. So the plant was designed for X, in this case 2,750 pounds per day. We can take our influence sampling results and determine what it actually is to this day. And we've been doing this for years. We've just never compiled the data in such a way to actually reflect performance of the plant. That being said, the plant is performing abnormally well for its conditions. It's surprising in some of these scenarios, as Dorothy Pearson mentioned last September. It's surprising in that particular scenario that we didn't exceed effluent limitations. That's right along.
What happens if you have that kind of spike and you also have added on buildings and residential that contribute to everything? Is there a maximum that we can handle?
In theory, there would be, but trying to determine specifically where that threshold would prove to be extremely difficult. As you can see with the variations, in some cases, adding 300 homes would be detrimental, but in some cases, it's not. So, with the conditions that where they are currently, without fixing some of our existing problems, it wouldn't be recommended. If that makes sense. If that answers your question.
Well, part of the question you received at the public meeting and part of the question that council hears a lot is about growth.
Right.
And are we going to be able to deal with growth with those kinds of fluctuations?
Based on the current data, I wouldn't specify that a subdivision is wise to be put in today. That being said, 200-300 homes in the grand scheme of things is a drop in the bucket. If we can hammer down some of our existing problems, if we can reduce the influent loading to the municipal plant by 10%, in some cases, that equates to a lot in terms of development. So I think that's really the direction that we need to travel towards. Is if we have any leverage or any pool to make with reducing the influent loading so that the plant can operate at a more open capacity, that would be the way to go.
What are the repercussions of steady over limits? I mean, is it like a backup?
No, there's no backup. We're pretty fortunate that while the plant is close to exceeding its design criteria in terms of BOD, its hydraulic loading, its loading in terms of water is probably 33% roughly. It's really low. So we do have some capacity in the plant to manipulate it a little bit, and I think that's what we're achieving today. Is the flow is so low that we're getting a longer treatment period within the plant, more than we would if we were experiencing the 1 million gallons a day that we could be getting. So when we're only getting 500,000 a day, and the plant's rated for 1.5 million a day, I think that's our saving grace. Now, as the town grows, that's going to become an issue. So this just proves that we need to solve some of our issues.
So,
as soon as practical.
I mean, leaving things as they are today, we need to possibly be able to, I guess, a couple of things. increase the capacity of the water treatment plant, is that correct?
It's not so much increasing the capacity, it's just bringing up capacity. The design criteria for the plant, of what it can do, it's pretty forgiving for a town of our size. Back in the 90s, they built a plant that was truly meant for the growth of Lampasas, for the growth to come. We just need to open the capacity back up. So some of these.
Sorry, so you say that last part again, we need to build what?
No, we just need to open that capacity back up. So if we have users that are in direct violation of city ordinance, we need to take care of that.
Mayor, Council, I want to tell you, Mr. Sewell did a great job last week. He did
Thank you
very
very
good.
I appreciate that.
We appreciate it.
You mentioned some of our problems. Is it the industrial side?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, get a motion to adjourn workshop.
So moved.
All in favor? And I'm gonna ask that we take a 5 or 7 minute body break. Order. We're all up here. All rise.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we couldn't be grateful enough tonight to be here in this nice little community, especially considering the world events. We ask that you be with all of your people here on this earth. We ask that you be with us. We ask that good decisions be made, share information, and this will be a better place for all of us when we leave. We ask that you be with us in safety, watch over us, forgive us of our sins, as in always, in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Join me in the pledges, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag, pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
And tonight we have a few service recognition, and I don't think that they are here tonight, but I'd like to take this time to call their name. We're always thankful for the service that our employees do for the city of Lampasas. Golf course.
Mayor and Council, did you want me to read them off, Mayor, or read them?
Oh, I was gonna read them off.
Okay,
You can
perfect.
Go right ahead.
Gary Score has been with the golf course for 20 years. Danny Donovan, 15 years at the golf course. Rachel White, 5 years at the animal shelter. And Jeremy Herring, 5 years at the police department. And unfortunately, they weren't able to join us.
Citizens comment, any citizen who desires to address the city council on a matter not included on the agenda may do so at this time. The city may not deliberate on items presented up underneath this agenda. And there is none. Citizen comments, any citizen who desires to address the city council on a matter that is included on the agenda may do so at this time. And there is none. 2.1, discussion and possible action regarding the approval of minutes on the regular meeting held on June 9th, 2025.
I didn't see any changes. Mayor, recommend approval.
Second motion?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Discussion and possible action regarding the second reading of ordinance amending the Lampasas Code of Ordinance Appendix A, Fee Schedule Chapter 18, Building and Building Regulations.
Recommend approval.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Board and department reports.
evening, Mayor and City Council. The Information Technology Department is pleased to present the FY 24-25 annual report. I would like to thank our city manager and city council for all of the support given towards improving technology throughout all city departments. We continue to make improvements to new and existing technology resources as we strive to meet the growing demands of each department. The improvements that have been made continue to build a solid infrastructure for continued future progress. There are some new members on City Council, so I wanted to give a brief introduction to our technology team. We have 2 full-time positions, the IT Director, which is myself, who has been with the city 20 years in September, and the Systems Administrator, Christy Acevedo, who has been with the city for 8 years in September. Additionally, we contract out with an IT consultant company that has offered various IT-related services to the city for 17 years now, to include our PD Criminal Justice Information Systems audits and 24/7 remote support. Though our department is small, I will say that I am extremely grateful and fortunate to have such a strong and dedicated team to carry out the IT department's day-to-day operations. Over 19 years, I have personally witnessed the growth within the IT department and the technology advancements made each year. It is becoming more challenging with only 2 employees in our department with all of the growth in technology advancements, so I have requested an additional employee in the FY 25-26 budget year. So about our department, the mission of our department is to provide complete information technology-based support for all city departments in the most cost-effective manner to facilitate reliability, availability, and security of the city's technology. Our department develops and maintains system priorities, ongoing information technology planning, and drive for accuracy. The department pursues and initiates improvement projects to bring about positive information system changes for the city. The main goals and objectives for our department include ensuring data security and protection of systems by implementing strong security measures to safeguard sensitive data and prevent cyber threats, improving operational efficiency, meeting employees' needs by providing employees with the technology and resources they need to perform their daily tasks effectively, ensuring effective technology support for our staff, improving system reliability and uptime, reducing IT costs by managing resources effectively, developing and retaining a skilled IT workforce, and implementing new technologies and funds as they are available. Challenges include managing cybersecurity threats, ensuring data security, adapting to new rapidly evolving technology and training staff, meeting staff demands quickly and effectively with a 2-person department, and navigating budget constraints and market conditions. So what exactly does our department manage? 30 servers, 3 firewalls, 105 computers, 60 laptops, 78 printers, 22 switches, 8 credit card readers, 4 time clocks, 16 wireless access points, 16 tablets, 30 plus software applications, 20 Cradlepoint routers, 57 cell phones, 60 security cameras, 16 Verizon Air cards, the city website, and the city social media accounts. Management includes backups, firmware updates, software updates, website social media content updates or changes, hardware and software configurations, installs and maintenance, and providing cybersecurity training for all of our employees. This next slide shows various comparison stats from last fiscal year compared to this fiscal year. Our help desk service tickets are up from FY 23-24. The city's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram followers have all increased from last fiscal year. The city's website had less page views this fiscal year in comparison to last year, but I would say consistent with past years. FY 23-24 website traffic was unusually high due to the solar eclipse event that occurred. This next slide breaks down the annual FY 24-25 IT budget. The total annual budget is $445,473. 46% of the total budget is allocated for maintenance, services, and supplies. Next, I wanted to touch on some technology highlights. So, infrastructure. We have a total of 3 firewalls. Firewalls are the most important part of our network. They are a network security device that acts as a barrier between a private and public internet, filtering incoming and outgoing traffic. They alert us with any suspicious activity, and it also stops any suspicious activity immediately. The primary purpose of a firewall is to protect the network from unauthorized access, malware, and other malicious activities. We have a total of 30 servers to include physical and virtual servers. We have a total of 22 network switches. Switches are a part of the network hardware that connects multiple devices to create a local network, allowing them to communicate. Security, we also perform software patches and updates. Software patches are a small piece of code designed to fix specific issues or vulnerabilities in software. They address bugs, enhance security, and improve functionality without requiring a complete software update. We also perform software updates as they are available. We perform firmware updates to our systems as they are available. Firmware updates are changes made to the embedded software of the device designed to improve its functionality, performance, and also security. And we also have advanced antivirus and endpoint security software with protection and monitoring on all of our PCs and servers. Sorry. And talking about the internet, AT&T is the internet service provider for all city locations that is on the city network. Those locations include City Hall, IT Department, Police Department, Municipal Court, Calvert Building, Fire Department, Public Works Barn, Collection Center, Water Wastewater, Animal Shelter, and the library. Last year, we not only increased our bandwidth speeds on our main fiber circuit, but we also implemented a second dedicated fiber connection with a diverse path in the event of a fiber cut. We did have 2 fiber cuts this year, and our internet fell over to our backup circuit, alleviating any downtime to our network. Staff feels this was money well spent and a project that was truly successful. Next link, there are ISP for all locations not on the city network, and those locations include golf course, Parks Barn, Cemetery, 580 Sports Complex, Hannah Springs Pool, Hancock Springs Pool, Golf Maintenance Shop, W.M. Burke Park, and Campbell Park. Next, I'd like to talk about our cybersecurity awareness training. Per House Bill 3834, we deployed annual security awareness training to all of our city employees and city council. The state VIR training program that we use that allows our department to send out simulated phishing tests to see if malicious attachments and emails are opened and or links are clicked on. When a user opens an attachment or clicks a link, it allows our department to see who that employee was and provide them with further education on cybersecurity and keeping our network safe. After the completed training, we are required to report to the state VIR annually. Another technology highlight is security cameras. Back in 2015, discussions began with City Council regarding the need to install security cameras in various locations throughout the city in order to prevent vandalism, theft, illegal dumping, and graffiti that is frequently occurring. We are pleased to say that we have installed 60 security cameras throughout the city, including council-identified locations such as W.M. Burke Park, Campbell Park, Hannah Springs Pool, Hancock Springs Pool, and the 580 Sports Complex. Website and social media. I would like to remind council and citizens to utilize our website and the tools that it provides. If you would like to receive email and or SMS text messages regarding any news, events, health notices, bids, employment that is posted to our website, you can do that by visiting the city homepage and clicking on Stay Informed and providing your information. You can also sign up for SITCOG Code Red emergency notifications as well as report concern. And also, if you are unable to make a council meeting or attend in person and you want to keep up with what is going on with your city government, you can visit our city YouTube channel where all of our meetings are streamed and recorded. And also, please follow our socials for quick updates that we push out. And additionally, we will be up for a free redesign on both the city and the EDC website for fiscal year 25-26, so that will be a project that we will be doing. Next, I wanted to highlight on some of the major projects completed this fiscal year, starting with the implementation of the library's Cyberhand software and the replacement of 13 patron client PCs, one replacement IT file server. We also installed 30 security cameras at various city facilities. As part of our ongoing replacement schedule, we also replaced around 15 PCs in various departments. The replacement of 5 end-of-life switches. The replacement of 6 laptops. Migration of all Windows 10 OS PCs to Windows 11. The migration of all Windows 10 VM servers to Windows 11. And approved by council, NextLink recently completed the installation of running structured fiber into the 580 Sports Park. So, identified FY25-26 projects include the city website redesign, EDC website redesign, the migration from Encode version 9 on-prem to Encode 10 Cloud. We will also be implementing a VoIP phone software solution, NextLink internet service at Turner Field Complex and installation of security cameras at that location. Replacement of 2 end-of-life city host servers, and then we also have the replacement of 2 end-of-life PD host servers. As usual, our annual replacement PCs and replacement of end-of-life switches. Do you have any questions for me?
I just had a simple question. When you're talking about the internet for the locations on the city network,
Yes, ma'am.
and you mentioned some that are not right in the city hall area, what were those again?
Oh, okay. Those locations are, sorry. It's gonna be the Parks Bar and the golf course, the cemetery.
That's good. I was just curious. And then are those connected with cable?
Many of them are in a location that we cannot run, NextLink has not been able to run structured fiber to, so they are wireless. But NextLink assures us that they are working towards getting structured fiber throughout the city in those locations. We're just kind of at their mercy. But until then, the wireless is a better option for us than going with the AT&T Uverse option. So,
Anything else?
I think we're good.
thank you.
Thank you. City manager's report.
Mayor and council, just a couple of items tonight. Reminder that Sergeant Steve Sheldon is retiring from Lampasas PD after over 22 years of service. There will be a public reception here at the Calvert Building on June 30th from 1:30 to 2:30 p.m. for Sergeant Sheldon. So, public and yourselves are more than welcome to join and celebrate his retirement with us. Council had asked for just kind of a rundown of what our departments are doing to prepare for spring hoe. So we've got a general overview of some of those department activities. The fireworks plan event have been approved along with TxDOT road closure. The Parks Department has been conducting internal meetings for discussion regarding prior and current events. Safety meetings, reminding them to stay hydrated while it's so hot out there, and just making sure that the crews are taken care of. They are seeking assistance from the sports facility and cemetery crews. spring mow weekend for additional litter patrols and restroom cleanings for park events, ensuring adequate supplies are ordered and available for festival. They have their spring mow work scheduled for staff assignments, and the maintenance schedule created for each property hosting an event, including event-specific tasks, fence barrier, construction, delivery of supplies, responsiveness to spring mow committee needs. And of course, they're getting all of those facilities prettied up for the spring mow events. The police department has an operational plan and staffing for all necessary spring mow activities. They've planned and attended several logistical meetings with the spring mow committee, and city staff, chamber of commerce, and internal meetings. Patrol and communication schedules have been completed. Planned meetings for road closures and parking, placement of barricades for various events, and enhanced security at Friday and Saturday night's concerts. Fire department is working on traffic control for Wednesday fireworks. They have an action plan for Friday and Saturday concerts, and we'll have dedicated staffing and equipment on site in conjunction with Hamilton EMS and the on-duty crew who will be there as available. Coordinated communication with PD, EMS, event staff, and area hospitals. They'll run through a nightly debrief and restock medical supplies nightly. The electric crew is cleaning and checking all lights in WM Brook Park, Hannah Springs, the square and surrounding block, and soccer fields. Trimming parade route trees as needed if tree limbs are a little higher than the other crews can get to. Checking plugs on bandstand pedestals and light poles on the square, cleaning lights and checking plugs at the pavilion and outdoor theater, cutting trees at outdoor theater and removing dead limbs that Parks is unable to reach, putting the pole ferry in the creek and removing post-event, checking pedestals in the park and turning on for kidfish, putting out A-frames with receptacles for vendors, street dance cleanup Friday and Saturday, assist with parade and 10K, disconnect bandstand as needed, and disconnect and put away A-frames that have been set up previously in the week. Streets is busy sweeping and patching WM Brook Park and Spring Street, weeding, sweeping and patching the 5K and 10K run routes inside the city limits, mowing and weeding all the entrances to the city, sweeping the square for events downtown, trimming trees, sweeping and patching the parade route, sweeping WM Brook Park early Thursday morning and the downtown square Thursday morning, placing trash cans at the square Thursday afternoon. They will assist PD with cones and traffic control, and they will sweep the square after the street dances Friday and Saturday night. Busy.
Just one question, specific. Well, it's to the streets, but it's mainly to our business owners. And is there anything we can do to encourage them to mow, clean up their area? I mean, I know it's their business and they can do it, especially with this big event coming in. Is there anything we can do as a public service, something to encourage that?
I think as staff, we can maybe identify maybe some troublesome property and just make contact with the property owners. Just encourage them to spruce up a little bit.
Yeah, like 4th Street, there's some issues there.
Okay.
Yeah, well, unless they mowed it today, ambulance, they could boost it, but almost 2 feet high. So, anything else? All right, I got a few comments. Are you up?
Got it.
Okay. You're stepping out of line. I just reminded tonight of our community and what it takes to have a community like Lampasas running like it runs. I know we up here would say, we've got a lot of problems, but we've got a ton of good things happening. And I know that Vision Lampasas and their report about what they do for Christmas. And these are private citizens that want our town better. And we got Cooper Springs that came from a donated piece of land and Vision that has come forth from that. And Janet's group, the Lampasas Partners. I just wanted to say thank you to all those groups that come in and nobody gets paid for it. They all do it out of the goodness of the heart. this, I think it's at the end of this week, June the 27th, on Friday, the 2025, there's at Sulphur Creek hike and bike trail, and there's a community fish fry and creek showcase of what a group of citizens are to locking arms and cleaning up the creek down there for a beautification of Lampasas. And I mean, those things are just absolutely incredible when people love their town, such as these that I've spoken about. You know what? We can all lock arms and we can pull this sled in just a great direction. And I want to say thank you to each and every one of you. The community fish fry, I think that's probably, I don't think there's any charge for it either. I think it's all free. So if you can imagine that, they're funding this fish fry. I don't know how there might be 2,000 or 3,000 people show up, but I hope they have enough fish. We'll pray and ask Jesus. But anyway, that's on that's a Sulphur Creek, 4th Street to Western Avenue that they're reclaiming, and from a council to you guys and to these groups. I am Vision Lampasas and Janet's group. I'm humbled to serve amongst you guys, and again, just thank you for your service and all you do. And with that being said, I'll put it back in Aaron's hands.
Mayor and council, at your last meeting, you were asked to consider the first reading of an ordinance for a specific use permit for property described as 62 of Lot 7 and 8, Block 47 of Page Farms Edition, commonly known as 501A South Key Avenue, to allow for a smoke shop. There was no action taken on the item at the last meeting, and I did some additional research after that meeting for the concerns in the room about parking, access, and things like that. So I did a site visit, and I drive an F-150, so it's not a large pickup. But when you pull into that lot, it's difficult to park a pickup straight in that section of the parking lot. So I understand the parking concerns there. I made the block to look for the shared parking lot in the back, which there is a parking lot belonging to the church. It says provided by the church. And when I came back around, there was a car in the building over, the shared building, and I couldn't pull my truck because of the way that the sidewalk situated, the signs situated, it was a small crossover, so it wasn't a large. So I was doing some more research into it and noted that when in our zoning ordinance, when you file for an SUP, you're supposed to file with a detailed site plan showing means of ingress, egress, et cetera, et cetera. And we do not have a detailed site plan on file for that. Therefore, I've checked with the city attorney, and we believe that the application is administratively incomplete and should not have gone to P&Z for approval without that information. So tonight, council has 4 actions that you can take in regards to this SUP. You can approve as recommended by P&Z, you can approve with modifications, you can deny, or you can deny with prejudice, which means that the application can't be reconsidered by P&Z for 6 months after tonight's denial.
Well, I think with all the issues that have been presented, this is exactly why we needed to research a little more, and I think I'm going to make a motion to deny with prejudice.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. And we'll Go to 7.2, discussion of possible actions regarding reimbursement for hot funds request by Lampasas County Chamber of Commerce in the amount of $1,616.68 for an event expense related to the LTXB barbecue on April 24th and the 25th, 2025.
Mayor and Council, Melissa Unger with the Lampasas County Chamber of Commerce is here this evening. She has been previously approved for up to $2,000 in hotel occupancy tax funding for this event, and she is submitting her request for a lesser amount.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As I do post events for all my events, traditionally we submit reimbursement for the funds that were actually used during this event. The amounts for hot funding when it comes to tourism events all come out within the budget cycle. And so when the budget's presented, those are approved as part of the budget, and then we actually host the event, incur the expenses, and then submit for reimbursement. This evening, in partnership with the Rodeo Association, we had a very successful event. We are thankful for their partnership, and we are actually, because we submitted for our hot funds separately, we've come to council separately. And so this evening, based on your packet, you will see all the expenses that were incurred for that event, and we are asking for $1668, which is less than the $2,000 that was originally estimated for this event. And I'll take any questions.
I have a question.
Yes.
Some of the expenses are noted to be at 40%.
Correct.
What is the cause of it being covered at 40%?
So in the past, in regards to my hot funding breakdown, I've always had to present a breakdown as to what advertising versus what staff versus what service and labor was incurred. And so all of the service and labor comes in at 40% versus the advertising, which is 100.
So the tents, for instance, were covered at 40%.
That is correct. And that is at 40%, along with security, all of the event service expenses.
Hotel.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to reimburse the Lampasas County Chamber of Commerce in the amount of $1,616.68 from hot funds.
Right? Second motion.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
Thank you. 7.3, discussion and acceptance of the fiscal year 2026 through 2030 CIP report.
Mayor and Council, we met with the CIP committee earlier this evening and to receive the 5-year CIP plan and a brief overview. We're asking for formal adoption of the CIP report this evening.
Make a motion to accept the CIP report. 26.
Any discussion, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Discussion and possible action regarding the approval of resolution authorizing the creation of the Central Texas Regional 911 Emergency Communication District, EDC.
Mayor and Council, we do have the Central Texas Council of Government representative here tonight to speak to us about this. It's a program that was enacted in 1987. CITCOG administers the 911 program for this Council of Government or this area, and this resolution helps establish them and authorizes them to collect. You see on your cell phone bill or your home phone bill, there's a small fee that's collected for 911 services, and that this helps authorize that collection.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. As Aaron stated, I'm Ryan Nelson. I'm the Director of Planning and Regional Services for the Central Texas Council of Governments. In the late 80s, everybody might remember 911 system was created. The state of Texas formed the the State Commission on Emergency Communications, which at that point, there were two methods in which you could enter into a 911 services contract. One was being part of the state system, and one was being an emergency communications district. Those early emergency communications districts were large cities that decided that they wanted to do their own thing. The others fell into the regional planning commissions, which we are one. And then as time has evolved, the legislation for Texas has evolved and allowed the regional planning commissions to become emergency communications districts. Now what that does for you locally, and what your citizens will notice is absolutely nothing. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. You will see absolutely no change to how the 911 services provision in the city of Lampasas. What it does is it takes the funding mechanism and it bypasses the state appropriations process. Right now, if you look on your phone bill, you have a 50-cent fee for 911 service. That 50-cent fee right now is remitted to the state comptroller. The state comptroller then uses that to balance the budget for the state and issues an allocation to the state, who then breaks it down to the regional planning commissions that are still in the state's system. What that means for us is at any given moment in time, our appropriation is at most 75% of what our local residents are putting into the system. We don't see the entire 50 cents come back to the region right now because as it goes through that legislative process, as it's appropriated, the state agency that administers that program, of course, takes cut off the top to manage that. Some of those funds also go to the regional poison control centers. So we see 75% of those basically return to our region. What the creation of the district does is it takes that spigot from the state comptroller's office and it takes that 50 cents and instead of it going through the legislative process, and there's a slide in the handouts you were provided, it skips over the legislative appropriation, it skips over the state taking any of the money, it skips over the allocation to poison control, and it funds us 100% of that 50 cents that our citizens are paying. What that does in the long run, it allows us to plan better. We can plan, we can forecast, because we don't have the state telling us this is what we're going to appropriate you based on a percentage of what other state programs are getting, and here's your cut. We don't have to worry about if the state says we need all state agencies to take a 5% decrease in the budget. Even though your citizens are paying this 50-cent fee, our program takes a 5% hit to the budget because it goes through the state appropriation process. What this does is, like I said, in long term, it creates more local control over the 911 system. It creates more stable funding, and ultimately, at the end of the day, it'll create more flexibility. I'm scared to say this as the police chief and fire in the back, but you know, a lot of people here think 911, they think radios, they think emergency response. That is not what we do. We do the infrastructure. That being said, being in the state program limits what we can use some of these funds for. And right now, all we can use them for is the infrastructure from when you pick up your phone and you call 911 to when somebody says, 911, what's your emergency? That is what we fund right now with the funding we get. That's due to state rules and regulations. When we are our own district, our ability to use funds expands. We can use them for any provisioning of 911 services, which, if funding is available, can go to fund radios, telecommunications equipment, that your responders are actually using, the MDTs that are in patrol cars, things like that we cannot fund right now. I'm not gonna say that creation of a district automatically will do that, because it won't. Those things will come probably 5 to 7 years down the road when we have a good reserve policy, when we have a good reserve balance in place. As we transition to this district, when we leave the state, and it's like a mama bird kicking its baby bird out of the nest, we don't have a reserve for the district specifically. We're dependent on the SITCOG reserves because the district is its own entity legally. The other thing I want to touch on, and then I'll open for questions because I know I've kind of bounced around a little bit. The other thing I want to touch on is what we are not. An emergency communications district is not an emergency services district. We do not provide direct emergency services. We provide 911 infrastructure and the ability for your citizens to call 911 and for that call to come through. We provide geospatial routing via GIS platforms. So we provide all of that back-end infrastructure that feeds the 911 system. We do not have the authority to tax. We're not a taxing entity like an emergency services district. And we can only charge up to the 50 cents per service line that is being paid right now by your citizens. The only way that would ever change is if the legislature said we are increasing all 911 fees to 75 cents or $1. And at that point, we can opt to increase that fee in our region, or we can opt not to. If things are going really well and funding is really good, and we have a strong reserve and the needs for the public are being met, and we can see a means to reduce the service fee for citizens, we can do that in our region. We can't do any of that right now, but we can do that once we're a district. And like I said, some of those large changes will come 5 to 7 years down the road. At this point, you'll see no change in service. Your citizens will see no change. This is, like I said, it's not a taxing entity. It's an emergency communications district for the infrastructure of the 911 system. With that, I'm happy to try and answer any questions you may have.
Are others in our service area, in our region, are the other cities already committed, or where are we at there?
So this process, and I totally skipped the process, but what it takes for this district to be created is a signed resolution of support, which you have in front of you tonight, from all 32 of our cities and all 7 counties in our region. At this point, we lack 4 resolutions from cities and 1 from Bell County. The reason we lack Bell Counties is because we're holding them for the end, because we are located in Bell County. They're right down the road. They will be meeting September 2nd, and once that final resolution is received or made, we are immediately a district at that point in time. Our state funding cuts off completely from the state program. So to answer your question, 27, 28, I'm not really fast at math accurately. So about 28 have already. So,
Does a 50%, does it attach itself to our cell phone numbers? Is that?
With the 50 cents? Yes, it's on the bottom of all of your cell phone bills. It's a 911 service fee.
Is there some sort of accounting thing that the city will be involved in this to get the money to you?
No, what will happen is your funds are collected by the telecoms. The telecoms will submit those remissions to us.
The other question I had is, if you are getting 27-30% more than you did before, your plan is then to put that into the funding for a reserve, to build up the reserve?
Correct. We would like to build up a significant reserve. And then at that point, possibly explore where we can use funds that we have above that reserve to benefit the members in the region.
Yes, because I'd like to see some of that funding come back to the city and
Correct. And I can't speak for what the board of managers, what that program would look like. But
possibility.
There is the possibility there for regional programs to benefit.
Thank you.
So if we do this with the state, will that affect us in any way when it comes to receiving grants for equipment?
No.
No, okay.
Right now, we fund all of your equipment, we fund all of that through the funding we already get at the state level.
Any other questions?
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution authorizing the creation of the Central Texas Regional 911 Emergency Communication System.
Second motion.
Any discussion, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, the city council of Lampasas will meet closed executive session pursuant to the Texas Government Code, Chapter 551 as follows. Section 551071, consultation with an attorney to seek advice of its attorney about pending contemplation of litigation, settlement offers, or any matter which the duty of attorney of the city council under Texas disciplinary rules of professional conduct of State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with Texas Open Meetings Act, Ajinomoto Foods North American Affluent Ordinance violation. Section 551074, personnel matters to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, for discipline of a public officer or employee, city secretary, and other personnel matters as allowed by Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. And we will adjourn into executive session. Get a motion?
Make a motion to adjourn executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
He likes you, we've gone out of seven a long time.
All right. Nothing coming out of executive session. So at this time, excuse me, at this time, we'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.